So I didn't bother bringing out the big light today, so if it's a little shadowy, yeah, we can live with that. But I did want to talk to you about Chat GPT, which I think they could have really named it better. I find that a mouthful to say sometimes, but I went on there and decided I would let Chat GPT pick some recommendations for me for things to read. The only thing I said is that I wanted cozy mysteries and historical fiction. So it spit out a bunch that it thought I would like and did a pretty good job, I have to say. So the first one, first time that I did it, it came back with some that I had already read. So it mentioned Death by Dumpling, All the Light We Cannot See, The Nightingale, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which is another mouthful. And so those, I put it back into Chat GPT and I said, okay, like I've read these ones. What else you got? So then it gave me some more. So let's take a look at what it offered. So the first time through, when it was talking about cozy mysteries, it said the first one was Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death by M.C. Beaton. And the way they described it, the way it described it, it says, follow the quirky and often comical adventures of Agatha Raisin, a retired PR executive turned amateur detective in the Cotswolds. So, excuse me, Oliver. So I looked it up, and it also says it's a hit show on Acorn TV, which I didn't know. And it's a lot. I've been told that Chat GPT has that it only goes so far. That I think it's accurate up to 2021, maybe something like that. So it probably doesn't have like the latest new releases. So some of these you might have already read, but maybe you'll get a couple recommendations. So with Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death, it says, putting all her eggs in one basket, Agatha Raisin gives up her successful PR firm, sells her London flat, and settles in for an early retirement in the quiet village of Carsley. But she soon finds her life of leisure isn't all it's cracked up to be. Bored, lonely, and used to getting her way, she enters a local baking contest. So the judge, Mr. Cummings Brown, not only snubs her entry, but also falls over dead. After her quiche's secret ingredient turns out to be poison, she must reveal the unsavory truth. She has never baked a thing in her life. In fact, she bought her entry ready-made from an upper crust London quichery. So I thought it sounded really good. And I've seen a lot of things about Agatha Raisin because I think it's a really long series at this point. So I've been wanting to dive into it. So that even makes me even more so want to do that. So the next one it talked about was the number one ladies detective agency by Alexander McCall Smith. So again, that's another one that I know has a lot to it. So that one it talks about, and I know I'm going to get the names in it wrong, but I'll do my best. It says Precious Ramatsui, who is drawn to her profession to help people with problems in their lives. Immediately upon setting up shop in a small storefront in Gaborone, she is hired to track down a missing husband, uncover a con man, and follow a wayward daughter. But the case that tugs at her heart and lands her in danger is a missing 11-year-old boy who may have been snatched by witch doctors. So that sounds interesting. And the next one was Murder at the Vicarage, which is Agatha Christie. And apparently it's the first book in the Miss Marple series. So I haven't read that one either. If you've been watching along, you know that the first Agatha Christie book I read was And Then There Were None. I haven't read any other Agatha Christie's. So it says, now a beautiful new series. So, so I don't think it's very new anymore, but it says Miss Marple encounters a compelling murder mystery in St. Mary Mead, a peaceful English country village. Colonel Prothero Local magistrate and overbearing landowner is the most detested man in the village. Everyone, even the vicar, wishes he was dead. Boy, you have to be bad when even the vicar wishes you were dead. And very soon he is, shot in the head in the vicar's own study. Faced with a surfeit of suspects, only the inscrutable Miss Marple can unravel the tangled web of clues that will lead to the unmasking of the killer. So that sounds good. The next one was Maisie Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. So I can't say I've ever heard of Maisie Dobbs. But it says Maisie Dobbs got her start as a maid in an aristocratic London household when she was 13. Her employer, suffragette Lady Rowan Compton, soon became her patron, taking the remarkably bright youngster under her wing. The outbreak of war changed everything. Maisie trained as a nurse, then left for France to serve at the front, where she found and lost an important part of herself. 10 years after the armistice, in the spring of 1929, Maisie sets out on her own as a private investigator. Her very first case involves suspected infidelity, but reveals something very different. In the aftermath of the Great War, a former officer has founded a working farm known as the Retreat, a refuge for ex-soldiers too shattered to resume normal life. Maisie now finds herself with a second case involving the Retreat. So it sounds good. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether I'd like it or not. I'd have to read it and see. But I don't know how cozy it could be back in the 1920s, whether it would be more historical and less cozy. I don't know. And then Chat GPT had mentioned Death by Dumpling, which I have already read. If you're looking for info on that, it's in one of my other videos. And then The Miniaturist was one of the ones under historical fiction. So let me find that one. Wrote it all down because I knew I wouldn't remember it all. Maybe I didn't write down The Miniaturist. Excuse me. Oliver's laying on everything. Okay, well, I was sure I wrote down The Miniaturist. Okay, well, I don't see it, but what it says on here is it's set in 17th century Amsterdam. This historical fiction novel follows the life of a young bride who receives a mysterious dollhouse that seems to predict the future. And I do remember when I was writing down everything about it that I was thinking of this Hallmark movie that I had read or that I had watched on TV. And it was something to do with this little Christmas village. But every time the person in the show would move something in the Christmas village, that thing would actually happen. So there was one part where she moved these two people that were skating on this pond, and one of them fell over, and then you see like the actual people skating, and one of them falls down. And so it's yeah, it was really neat. And so I think The Miniaturist is kind of like that by the sounds of things. So should be cool. And the next one of the other ones that they recommended, I never know what to call these these things, Alexa and Google and Chat GPT, and yeah. The next one is Auntie Lee's Device. Okay, more coffee needed. Let's try that again. Auntie Lee's Delights by Ovidia Yu. So this one sounded really good. It says, this delectable and witty mystery introduces Rosie, Auntie Lee, feisty widow, amateur sleuth, and proprietor of Singapore's best-loved home cooking restaurant. After losing her husband, Rosie Lee could easily have become one of Singapore's Tai, an idle rich lady devoted to an aimless life of mahjong and luxury shopping. Doesn't sound so bad. Instead, she threw herself into building a culinary empire. But when a body is found in one of Singapore's beautiful tourist havens, and when one of her wealthy guests fails to show at a dinner party, Auntie Lee knows that the two are likely connected. Investigating the murder is rookie police commissioner Raja, who quickly discovers that the savvy and well-connected Auntie Lee can track down clues even better than local law enforcement. So that one sounds cute, and it sounds a lot like the Death by Dumpling series. So I think that would be, I think it'd be cute. So we'll see on that one. I think that's one I'll probably will read. One of the other ones was the Cat Who series. So where did I put that one? And I guess when I went to look, there were a lot of these, a lot. I don't know how many she's done. I didn't look, but it says more than 30 years ago. So that's a lot of time to write books. So it says, introduced to the extraordinary detective team of prize-winning reporter Jim Quilleran and Coco, the brilliant Siamese cat. And the first one is called The Cat Who Could Read Backwards. And it says, Jim Quilleran has a fluff assignment to cover the art beat, but a stabbing in the art gallery, vandalized paintings, a fatal fall from a scaffold are not at all what Quilleran expects. Even less, he could not possibly predict that the solution to these crimes wouldn't come from his newfound partner, Coco the Siamese, with exceptional abilities for sniffing out clues. So I don't know whether we're going to hear Coco, whether we're going to just know Coco's thoughts. Not really sure where they go with that, but anyway, sounds interesting. So the next one was The Book Thief. So that one, I feel like maybe I started to read it at one point, and I think I DNF'd it, to be quite honest, but couldn't say for sure. But it says it's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and it says it's 1939, Nazi Germany, in Nazi Germany. Liesel Meminger is a foster girl living outside of Munich who scratches out a meager existence for herself by stealing when she encounters something she can't resist: books. With the help of her accordion-playing foster father, she learns to read and shares her stolen books with her neighbors during bombing raids, as well as with the Jewish man hidden in her basement. Sounds interesting. Yeah, I don't know. And then, let's see, what else was there? So one of the ones that I had read, but that it recommended, was All the Light We Cannot See. So it's a winner of a Pulitzer Prize. And apparently it's supposed to be a Netflix series from the same person who produced Stranger Things. I don't have Netflix, so I don't know if that's true, but if you've watched it, I'd love to know if it's good because the book was excellent. So feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know. So it says, Marie Laure lives in Paris near the Museum of Natural History where her father works. When she's 12, the Nazis occupy Paris and they flee to the walled citadel of Saint Malo, where Marie Laure's reclusive great uncle lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In a mining town in Germany, Werner Finning, an orphan, grows up with his younger sister. Enchanted by a crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places they have never seen or imagined. Werner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial new instruments and is enlisted to use his talent to track down the resistance. Deftly interweaving the lives of Marie Laure and Werner, the author illuminates the ways against all odds people try to be good to each other. So that sounded good too. The next one that they talked about was the Secret Book and Scone Society, and I love the cover. I just think it's so good. So it says, strangers flock to Miracle Springs, hoping the natural hot springs, the 5-star cuisine, and renowned spa can cure their ills. If none of that works, they often find their way to Miracle Books, where over a fresh-baked comfort scone, they exchange their stories with owner Nora Pennington in return for a carefully chosen book. That's Nora's special talent, prescribing the perfect novel to ease a person's deepest pain. So when a visiting businessman reaches out for guidance, Nora knows exactly how to help. But before he can keep their appointment, he's found dead on the train tracks. Stunned, Nora forms the Secret Book and Scone Society, a group of damaged souls yearning to earn redemption by helping others. To join, members must divulge their darkest secret, the terrible truth that brought each of them to Miracle Springs in the first place. Now determined to uncover the truth behind the businessman's demise, the women meet in Nora's cozy bookstore. I think that sounds really good. I love the idea of books healing all your pains. I think that would be great if they could. And the next one is The Night Watch. And it says, this is a story of four Londoners in the 1940s, three women and a young man with a past. Kay, who drove an ambulance during the war and lived life at full throttle, now dresses in mannish clothes and wanders the streets with a restless hunger, searching. Helen, clever, sweet, much loved, harbors a painful secret. And Viv, glamour girl, is stubbornly, even foolishly loyal to her soldier lover. Duncan, an apparent innocent, has his own demons to fight during the war. Tender, tragic, and beautifully poignant, set against the backdrop of feats of heroism, both epic and ordinary. Not sure what I'd think of that, but sounds compelling. And then the Alice Network, which I'm sure many of you have read. It's been incredibly popular and certainly one I really like. I did mention it briefly in my favorite reads of all time, so I'll just kind of gloss over it quickly here. It does say, which I think is a little weird, so it's a New York Times and USA Today bestseller, but it also says it was the 2017 Girly Book Club Book of the Year, which, who came up with that? Like, why is there a girly book club book of the year? Why is there a girly book club? I don't know. I can't say that made me very happy, but that's just me. That's my opinion. So it starts out 1947. In the chaotic aftermath of World War II, American college girl Charlie St. Clair is pregnant, unmarried, and on the verge of being thrown out of her very proper family. She's also nursing a desperate hope that her beloved cousin Rose, who disappeared in Nazi-occupied France during the war, might still be alive. So when Charlie's parents banish her to Europe to have her little problem taken care of, Charlie breaks free and heads to London, determined to find out what happened to the cousin that she loves like a sister. And then it says in 1915, so it's got the dual timelines going, which I find a lot of historical books seem to. It says a year into the Great War, Eve Gardner burns to join the fight against the Germans and unexpectedly gets her chance when she's recruited to work as a spy. Sent into enemy-occupied France, she's trained by the mesmerizing Lily, the queen of the spies, who manages a vast network of secret agents right under the enemy's nose. 30 years later, haunted by the betrayal that ultimately tore apart the Alice Network, Eve spends her days drunk and secluded in her crumbling London house, until a young American barges in, uttering a name Eve hasn't heard in decades, and launches them both on a mission to find the truth, no matter where it leads. So it was, like I said, it was really good, and if you haven't read it, I certainly recommend that you do, because it was excellent. So two more left that we'll quickly go over. So one is called The Lost Letter. It says it's a gorgeous and thrilling novel, perfect for book clubs and fans of the Nightingale, which might be why Chat GPT suggested it, because I said I like the Nightingale. So again, it's another duo timeline. The first is Austria, 1938. So it says, Christoph is a young apprentice to a master Jewish stamp engraver. When his teacher disappears, Christoph is forced to engrave stamps for the Germans and works alongside Elena with the Austrian resistance to send underground messages and forge papers. As he falls for Elena amid the brutal chaos of war, Christoph must find a way to save her and himself. And then it says Los Angeles, 1989. Katie Nelson is going through a divorce, and while clearing out her house and life in the aftermath, she comes across the stamp collection of her father, who recently went into a nursing home. When an appraiser, Benjamin, discovers an unusual World War II era Austrian stamp placed on an old love letter as he goes through her dad's collection, Katie and Benjamin are sent on a journey together that will uncover a story of passion and tragedy, spanning decades and continents behind the just fallen Berlin Wall. Sounds good. And the very last one apparently is now a major motion picture on Netflix. So again, if it is, let me know. It's called The Last Letter from Your Lover. It says it's 1960 when Jennifer Sterling wakes up in the hospital. She can remember nothing, not the tragic car accident that put her there, not her husband, not even who she is. She feels like a stranger in her own life when she stumbles upon an impassioned letter, simply signed B, asking her to leave her husband. Years later, in 2003, a journalist named Ellie discovers the same letter in a forgotten file in her newspaper's archives. She becomes obsessed by the story and hopeful that it can resurrect her faltering career. Perhaps if these lovers have had a happy ending, she will find one to her own complicated life too. So I don't know about you, but I love amnesia stories. I something about waking up and it's like it's a fresh start for these people or something. I mean, sometimes and just the not knowing part, right? Like they wake up and it's like, are they a criminal? Are they a good person? Did they have a happy marriage, an unhappy marriage? It's just interesting, and it's interesting to know that your mind could do such a thing. So anyway, that is what ChatGPT suggested. I think for an AI, it did pretty good. So, hopefully some of those, I know some are a little bit old, but hopefully some of those you haven't read. And, maybe you want to put them on your TBR list or go check out ChatGPT yourself and see what it comes up with. I don't use the paid version, it's just the freebie version. But yeah, I thought it did pretty good. All right. Hope you have a great day, friends. Bye bye.